Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time. Today, we're digging into a book that asks a really big question. What happens when tradition completely falls apart, and all we have left to guide us is the raw act of thinking? So let's just jump right in. Hannah Arendt kicks things off with this really powerful line from the poet Renee Shar. Our inheritance was left to us by no testament. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. It's like we've been handed this incredible fortune, all of history, culture, knowledge, but the instruction manual is missing. The will that tells us what it all means, what we're supposed to do with it, gone. The connection is just severed. The source for all this is Arendt's incredible 1961 collection of essays. And it's super important to get this right off the bat. This is not a history book. She's not trying to glue the past back together. She actually calls these essays exercises in political thought. Think of it like a workout for your brain, designed to build up the mental muscles we all need to find our way around a world where the old maps are useless. All right, so what is this new reality we're stuck in? Well, Arendt's central idea, the real heart of her argument, is this. We aren't living on some nice, smooth timeline anymore. Nope. We are caught in a permanent gap. It's this unsettling space between a past that doesn't work anymore and a future that we can't see.
You see, for centuries, there was this thread connecting the past to the future. Arendt calls it tradition. It was this incredible heritage of thought passed down all the way from ancient Rome that basically gave the Western world its stability. It was the framework, the thing that provided ready-made answers and gave meaning to, well, everything.
But here's the kicker. Arendt points out, with this kind of chilling clarity, that the thread has snapped. That bridge that used to connect us to the solid ground of the past, it's completely collapsed. And now we're just suspended, hanging over this huge abyss. And this isn't some abstract idea just for philosophers, She's arguing that this is the real, tangible experience for all of us now. And this gap we're in, it's not some peaceful, quiet place for reflection. Oh no, Arendt describes it as a full-on, intense, chaotic battleground. And to really make you feel what she's talking about, she brings in this incredible parable from Franz Kafka. So, picture this. There's a guy, and he's not just standing around. He is on a fighting line, pinned between two massive opposing forces. From behind him, you've got the entire weight of the past, the origin, shoving him forward. But the future, the road ahead, it's not pulling him towards some bright new destiny. No, it's another force, actively blocking him, pushing him back. He's totally trapped in this crossfire. So his whole experience of what we call the present is really just this gap in time, a space that is only held open by his constant, exhausting fight. And for Arendt, this is it. This is the psychological experience of being alive today, a relentless struggle with no clear direction and, frankly, no rest. Okay, so what does it actually mean when an entire society is living in this gap? Well, when you lose that connecting thread, that tradition, it doesn't just cause one little problem. It kicks off a whole chain reaction, a series of cascading crises that really define our modern world. For starters, the whole idea of authority just crumbles. Why? Because authority always got its legitimacy from the past, from tradition. So once you take away that foundation, what's the real difference between a legitimate authority and just, a tyrant? It all starts to feel like just random, arbitrary power. And then, once authority goes, something else starts to go haywire. The very words we use to make sense of the world, big words like justice, reason, responsibility, even truth, they get cut loose. They lose their shared meaning. We end up in this bizarre situation where we have more knowledge than ever, an ocean of facts, but no shared judgment about what any of it means. And that leads to what might be the biggest crisis of all. I mean, think about it. If we can't even agree on what our most basic words mean, how can our actions possibly create a shared world? We're all busy doing things, but without a common framework, we can't build anything together that lasts. We're just shouting into the void, completely talking past one another. So you might be thinking, okay, that sounds pretty bleak. What's the solution? Well, this is where Arendt is really clear. You can't just rebuild the old bridge. She's not offering some new ideology or a simple 5-step plan to fix it all. That's not what this is about. Instead, what she gives us is a practice, a kind of mental training regimen. Her work is basically a call to arms, but not for a revolution in the streets. It's for a revolution in our own minds. It's a call to develop our ability to think, really think from the ground up,
because that's the one skill we absolutely need in a world that has no guardrails. And her exercises follow this really powerful three-step process. First, you have to become sort of an archaeologist of your own ideas. You got to dig deep and figure out where our concepts even came from in the first place. Then, second, you have to distill their original meaning to rediscover what they really meant before they just became empty buzzwords. And the last step, which is the most radical of all, is that we have to learn to think for ourselves, completely, without leaning on the crutch of any authority at all. And this, right here, is the absolute key. What Arendt's work does is help us see that all the stuff we're fighting about today, the crisis of truth, the arguments over meaning, the breakdown of responsibility, those aren't the actual disease. They're just the symptoms. Symptoms of this much deeper, systemic break with the past. She completely reframes our political problems as a crisis in how we see the world, and a failure of how we think. And so, in the end, she leaves us with this incredibly powerful and, frankly, urgent question. Without the protection of tradition, without any easy answers handed to us, how do we, you and I, learn to think, to judge, and to act in a way that can actually start to build a shared world again? That is the fundamental challenge of living between past and future.
For the full long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description. If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.